A man is strapped to a chair in a Dutch fort on a small island most people in England have never heard of. His name is Gabriel Towerson. He is the senior English merchant on Amboyna, a speck of land in the eastern archipelago of the Indies, famous for one thing only, the finest clothes in the world. The Dutch have a question for him. It is not a complicated question. They want to know if he is plotting against them. Towerson says no. The Dutch do not believe him. What happens next takes hours. It involves water forced into the lungs, fire held against the skin, a confession extracted from a man who has nothing to confess. And when it is over, Gabriel Towerson is taken outside and beheaded. He is one of 10 Englishmen killed that morning. The date is February 1623. The place is the island of Amboyna. And what dies on that island is not just 10 men, it is an entire English vision of the future. To understand why, you have to go back all the way to the last day of the year 1600. London is a city of 200,000 people, wooden houses, open sewers, and extraordinary ambition. The Queen on the throne is 67 years old. Elizabeth I. She has survived plots, wars, and a Spanish armada. She is shrewd, vain, and in her final years, increasingly aware that she is running out of time. Into her court walks a delegation of London merchants with a proposal. They want a monopoly, not over land, not over people, over trade. Specifically, over the trade in spices, pepper, cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, the commodities that preserve food, mask the smell of rot, and command prices in European markets that make men rich beyond the imagination of ordinary life. The Portuguese have run this trade for a century. A single ship returning from the east with a full cargo of pepper can pay for its entire voyage 10 times over. The Dutch have recently entered the competition and are already muscling the Portuguese aside with ruthless efficiency. The English merchants want in. Elizabeth signs the charter on the 31st of December, 1600. 218 merchants. One company. A monopoly over all English trade east of the Cape of Good Hope. They call it the Governor and Company of Merchants of London trading into the East Indies. History will call it the East India Company. The first voyages are not romantic. They are slow, dangerous, and brutally expensive. Ships take months to reach the Indian Ocean. Scurvy kills men on the way out. Storms scatter fleets. The mortality rate on early voyages is staggering. Sometimes a third of a crew does not come back. But the ones who do come back bring pepper. And pepper is money. The company's early strategy is simple: get to the Spice Islands, the Moluccas, establish trading posts, buy cloves and nutmeg directly from local rulers, and carry them back to London at a profit that makes the losses worth bearing. For a brief moment, it almost works. The problem is the Dutch. The Dutch East India Company, founded just 2 years after the English one, is a different kind of beast entirely. Where the English company is cautious, merchant-minded, focused on profit through negotiation, the Dutch are building something closer to a military empire. They have more ships, more money, more soldiers, and absolutely no patience for competition. The Dutch do not want to share the spice trade. They want to own it. Their method is not subtle. They establish fortified posts, sign exclusive treaties with local rulers, and make clear to anyone who interferes that interference will be expensive. In blood, the English persist anyway. They are outgunned but not out outfought. For 2 decades, English merchants operate in the Spice Islands under constant Dutch pressure, underfunded by their London backers, undermined by local politics, always one bad season away from abandoning the whole enterprise. Then comes Amboyna. In February of 1623, the Dutch governor of Amboyna arrests a Japanese mercenary employed by the English. Under torture, the man produces a confession. He claims the English are planning to seize the Dutch fort. It is almost certainly false. The Dutch do not care. They arrest every English merchant on the island. 10 men in total, including Gabriel Towerson, the senior factor, who has spent years building the company's presence in the Moluccas. Each man is interrogated. Most are tortured. All confess. All are convicted. Most are executed. The news reaches London 6 months later. The public reaction is fury. Pamphlets circulate. Graphic illustrations of the torture methods spread through the city. Towerson becomes a martyr. Parliament demands justice. The Dutch offer apologies and stall. No one is ever punished. What the Amboyna Massacre actually accomplishes is something the Dutch probably did not intend. It does not just kill 10 men. It kills the company's eastern ambition. London looks at the situation plainly. The Dutch control the sea lanes to the Moluccas. They have more ships, more forts, more soldiers, and no legal accountability for what they do in the far east of the world. The company cannot fight them. It cannot afford to keep losing men and money to a war it cannot win. So it stops trying. The English withdrawal from the Spice Islands is not announced as a defeat. It is reframed, quietly, as a strategy. The company will focus not on the islands of the Far East, but on the great landmass to the west. The Indian subcontinent. A place the company has already been touching lightly at the edges, a small trading post at Surat on the western coast, established more than a decade before Amboyna, almost as an afterthought. India is not what the company originally wanted. India is what it settles for. And this reframing changes everything. Because India is not an archipelago of small islands with limited populations and limited resources. India is a subcontinent. It is vast, populous, and wealthy beyond the scale of anything the Spice Islands ever promised. It is home to the Mughal Empire, one of the richest and most sophisticated states on earth. And to textile industries, cotton markets, and trading networks that dwarf the clove trade entirely. The company arrives at India's shores not as conquerors. Not yet. It comes as supplicants. As merchants. As men who need permission to set up a shop. The Mughal emperor barely notices them. He should have paid closer attention, because these men, these merchants in their wool coats, sweating through Indian summers, writing careful letters to London about profit margins and warehouse rents, are not simply looking for trade. They are looking for leverage. For footholds. For the kind of presence that, given enough time and enough weakness on the other side, turns into something else entirely. Expelled from the spice trade and humiliated by the Dutch, the company turns its eyes toward a different prize, a subcontinent ruled by a weakening empire. And this time, they will not be leaving.